Yeah, I already work on it. Just see.
أيوة. لا يودون الناس. عيال خلاص أول حلو.
Is that okay? Yeah, we'll start.
وعليكم السلام.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صبحكم الله بالخير والعافية. نرحب بكم أجمل ترحيب إلى أكاديمية التمكين من التعليم. طبعا أكاديمية التمكين هي تركز على 3 مسارات: بناء القدرات والبرامج التعليمية، بالإضافة إلى ترتيب وتنظيم المؤتمرات. قد نكون نتشابه كثيرا عن الشركات المساهمة. أنا لا أقول إنه الأكاديمية منافسة، لأنه في حقل التعليم كلنا نساهم في بناء مجتمعات، وبالتالي نقول الشركات أو المؤسسات أو الأكاديميات المساهمة معنا في بناء المجتمع. قد نكون نتفق في الأطر العامة، الكل يعمل في التدريس وفي التعليم وفي بناء القدرات، لكن ما يميزنا في التمكين إن إحنا نركز على البرامج النوعية. وما هذا البرنامج اليوم الذي نتبث مع our partners from Phoenix إلا أحد المساقات النوعية على مستوى قطر والميدل. فنرحب بكم جميعا كل باسمه وصفته من مختلف المؤسسات. فأول ما نبدأ هي كلمة لرئيس مجلس الإدارة دكتور خميس العجمي. طبعا نكرر اعتذارنا بسبب انه الدكتور خميس العجمي في التزامن عندنا ايفنت اخر، فمن حرصه وحبه وترحيبه لكم سنقدم كلمه مسجله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله كما هو أهل له من الحمد والثناء، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إخلاصا ووفاء. سعادة الأخ المهندس مسعود بن سعيد بن هاشم الهاشمي المحترم، محافظ جنوب الباطنة، راعي فعاليات افتتاح هذا الملتقى. الأخوة والأخوات الحضور، يسعدنا أن نرحب بكم في هذا اليوم المشرق للسعادة، ونحن نشهد أعمال الملتقى تمكين في مستقبل التعليم، مسارات ومستحدثات.
I'm sorry guys.
الرحيم. الحمد لله كما هو أهل له من الحمد والثناء، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إخلاصا ووفاء. سعادة الأخ المهندس مسعود بن سعيد بن هاشم الهاشمي المحترم، محافظ جنوب الباطنة، راعي فعاليات افتتاح هذا الملتقى. الأخوة والأخوات الحضور، يسعدنا أن نرحب بكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله كما هو أهل له من الحمد والثناء، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إخلاصا ووفاء. سعادة الأخ المهندس مسعود بن سعيد بن هاشم الهاشمي المحترم.
You can ignore the speech and you can continue. I'm just waiting what everybody said. بس عشان الوقت يكون وقتنا يعني بس عادي ممكن كان سكيب.
طيب حياكم الله. نعتذر عن هذا يعني نوع من الاوفرلابنج في الموضوع الكلمه المسجله، لكن ان شاء الله نبدا بالبرنامج مع المسجل the CEO of Genix. Please, floor is yours.
عرض الفيديو غلط؟ خلاص الحمد لله. تبون آخر شيء؟
Stop here, huh? I'm all going to stop. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's a privilege to be here this morning. I think the complications for the videos got me quite anxious. So the team that we've got here today have come all the way from South Africa to come and share something that we think is a change in education that the world needs. For over 100 years, schooling has remained the same within the educational framework across the planet. The way that we teach children in schools is universal. The world knows that education needs to change, but nobody knows what that change looks like or how it's going to happen. Yes, we are from a very small part of this planet, being located in the south of Africa. But we generally do feel that we have got something truly special to offer the world and to offer education. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I will speak slowly and I'll speak clearly. So yes, the team from South Africa joined this morning with something we believe is the change that education needs. I'm going to start off with a video that just expresses my passion for education and where this all came from for myself as just one human being on the planet with 6 billion others.
Purpose of schooling. Why do you send your child to school? More importantly, what is the purpose of your child going to school? Before we can answer that question, we need to know how schools came to be and the original purpose versus the purpose of today. Schools at their cores were designed by governments to teach obedience, training children to work in the factory generation known as the Industrial Revolution. Uniforms created uniformity, the suppression of expression. Same-age classrooms for controlled educational development, better known as systematic cognitive control, the very antithesis of creativity and passion. Subjects were created to restrict learning. Isolating subjects allowed schools to measure children at ease. Subjects were designed for the convenience of assessment versus the relevance of education. A tool used to sort versus investigate. Assessment became the early detector of defective merchandise. Once detected, the system could then hold back the child and process them again through the same lessons just experienced, only to prove Einstein's theory of insanity by doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now that we have focused on the origin of the schooling system and its purpose of creating factory-style thinkers, we need to turn our attention to today and ask, what is the purpose of your child's schooling? The scary part of the question is not the answer, but the fact that schooling, by its design, has not changed. Meaning, the fundamental purposes we touched on earlier will drive your child's education and experience no matter what you tell yourself. That is an unequivocal, undeniable, and irrefutable fact. What is the purpose?
Okay, so I'm going to start with my journey in education. I went to 13 different schools located in South Africa. I went to a religious-based school, being a Christian-based school. I went to a Waldorf school. I went to a Montessori school. I've gone to a conventional boys boarding school. I have been to a co-ed boarding school. And the reason I went to 13 different schools is that the system that I was based into, I didn't have any affiliation towards it. I asked lots of questions on why. And when you ask questions in why in schooling, specifically in the South African context, you are told to listen and to do versus to understand. And I think for me, that was the changing point in my life. Going through 13 different schools, when I completed my schooling, I asked the question, which is the job that will make me the most money? And then I would study that qualification. So I studied a degree in finance and human behavior because I was told that if you worked with money, you would be rich. From that process, after completing my studies, I then went into starting my own business, a business that accounted for schools. So I ran the accounting services for schools. During this process, I realized that every school that I accounted for was the same. They operated the same way. Educators taught the same way. And no matter where the school was based, whether it was a faith-based school, whether it was a conventional school in South Africa, whether it was an international school, children were treated the same on the basis of what was requested and required. And nothing had changed in the school for over 100 years. A good example of this information is that the only advancement in school in 100 years was Microsoft PowerPoint. And Microsoft PowerPoint was established in 1987. And that has been the largest advancement. If you look at education now, and you look at global economies, you will have things like ChatGPT, large language models, OpenAI, the ability for information to be co-created and created at your fingertips. However, schools have not changed. The way that we assess children is to group children in the same age group and to assess the same knowledge base for a world that no longer exists. The words that I'm saying, you will feel and you will believe and you will understand. But the question that's always come back to me is, what can we do about it? Do we change the buildings? Do we change the way we educate? Do we change the curriculum? We're a school that offers Cambridge International Curriculum. Cambridge is the world's largest offer of qualifications globally. Is this better? So as a grouping of schools, we are a Cambridge school. Cambridge is the world's leader in curriculum, with more than 13,600 Cambridge schools globally. Cambridge schools located here in Qatar and the Middle East. Cambridge is known to be the best form of education when it comes to primary and secondary years. The problem that you have with Cambridge is Cambridge requires high-stakes examinations, which means that your child can go to school and be taught. But if your child cannot get to an examination center, all of that education means nothing. And on the basis of education to create a free and equitable world, it is very difficult for us to be able to address the concerns of society with children who are unable to get to these exam venues. So this process for me is a personal process. It's a process that I believe is my duty and my role within this world to find a mechanism that allows for equality in education, for equality in humanity, and the ability for children to succeed this generation to change the world for the better. In discussing how we would change the world and looking how education can change, if you go to a car shop and you buy a car, you can get different color cars, but they are all the same thing. They're a car. If you look at education, education is not dissimilar. In education, you get different curriculums. So you will have faith-based curriculums, you'll have Cambridge, you'll have the International Baccalaureate, you'll have Pearson, edXL, and you'll have various other qualifications. These university qualifications that these qualifications stem from are all owned by examination boards. What an examination board does is it sets out a protocol for assessment. So it tells you what you need to assess the child on versus what the child should know. And in that is the definition of why education and schooling has not evolved. Until we can evolve how we assess children, how we remove limitations and boundaries of having to go write examinations, our education system will remain prehistoric. Our education has one thing similar across the planet. We have a batch of manufacturing dates. That means in the year 2007, when a student graduated, that is their batch entry into the market. We classify a child's education by the time that the earth goes around the sun. It is the most prehistoric understanding of how education evolves. Children learn when they do. Children are ready to progress when they are ready to progress. The fact that we have created an education system prehistoric to the invention of technology, and we still tolerate it in this 21st century, is one of the biggest and largest concerns of why our educational philosophies and educational systems across the planet can never evolve. When you go to university, you can apply to university with two mechanisms. One is a school excellence certificate. So for those understanding education from a Cambridge point of view, it's a grouping of subjects that group together gives you access into a university. However, universities have their own courses for you to gain entrance into a university. These are called access qualifications. I have had the fortunate experience of being the Chief Operating Officer of a university for 2 years. I've also sat on the Cambridge Education Board for 4 years. I have run a group of schools for the last 9 years. I intimately understand how education is built together to create a construct of what is required for a student to go to university. But the real question I've got is, do we send our children to go to school to learn, or do we send our children to go to school, to go to university, to get a job, to be successful, and to be sustainable? I think that's a very layered topic, and I think what is important for me specifically is that imagine if schools could be just that. A space where you could change and exchange philosophies, where you could understand ideologies, and where education wasn't about assessment. It was about gaining information, learning to co-create the world that you want to live in. Unfortunately, with the way that education is set globally, this is not the case. No matter what we try and tell ourselves, there is a time that a student will sit behind a desk and write an exam that will dictate the rest of his life. And I think for me, that is quite scary and quite daunting. Because since I have left education in terms of studying at university, never again have I written a test. Never again have I sat in a 3-hour exam that the rest of my life will be depicted on. And I think that for me is the construct that doesn't make any sense on the basis of tolerance towards conventional educational norms. If we went into history and we understood where the West came with the ideologies of going to education, for me specifically, and I'll share my personal view, it's always been about control. It's about controlling the narrative, controlling what is required in the workforce. And I think that that control is outdated, prehistoric, and needs to end. It's because of that that we spent years and years developing what we classify as an alternative pathway. We have a vision and a viewpoint that if just one nation, one country, understood what we offered, every student that goes to school, by the time they graduate at the age of 18 or 19, they would have a degree. They would conform and do their first degree by the age of 18, 19 years old. Can you imagine that for a nation, that not leaving school only with regards to a schooling certificate, but with a bachelor's degree, and what the change they would have for society and for that country alike? If we unpack education, we'll see that education has preschool, primary school years, secondary schooling, and tertiary education. The preschool and primary school years for me are the most important. It is when a child has learned and experienced of the world to understand the tactile manufacturing of education. They are taught to count. They are taught to understand how numbers work. They are taught languages. They are taught philosophies. They understand religious connotations. That for me is the foundation of a child's education. Secondary schooling has become the warped sense of what the world is required. It teaches you things like calculus, trigonometry, cumulonimbus clouds. These items that no longer bear reference to a world where this information is freely available on the cell phone. The fact that we have cell phones in our pocket that are more powerful than any computer over the last century is a concern that this isn't embedded into our educational space. I believe that in the early years, that should be sacrosanct. You should stay away from technology. Children should play, they should run, they should fall, they should jump, they should compete, they should grow relationships. But I think secondary schooling has come to the point of extinction. And I say that with vigor, because I believe that secondary education and tertiary education should be blended. There is no reason that a child couldn't leave secondary schooling with a degree. There is no reason in one generation, a continent, a country, a planet, could change the perspective of what education is. The issue that you have in education is that secondary education doesn't have a direct link to tertiary education. They're generally run by two different parties with two different philosophies and two different ideologies. Where we stand together and we understand that education is not about assessment, but it's a child understanding that their world that they live in, how it works, and how they fit into that world. If you look at society and you understand why education is important, I specifically understand those ideas, those philosophies, and those ideologies. I just think it's got no longer to do with learning, and that is the sad part, because that is the reason why we educate our children, for them to learn, for them to go into society, and for them to change. I think if we understand why the need of education to change is something that we all understand, and we can all think about different ways of how this could happen. But if you look at the construct of a school, it's very difficult for schools to change. You've got single age group classrooms, you've got single subjects in different classes. You don't have the same teacher teaching you maths who would teach you English. So we specifically build children up to see the world in a silo-based form of education. When the world doesn't work in silos, we might all be in the same room here, but we are all of different ages. We all have studied different things, but we have a core commonality, and that is the availability to communicate and to express oneself. If you look at a subject grouping, what we call thematics, if I have a maths paper, and I have a science paper, and I have a geography paper, I can use the same calculation in each of those different subjects that I would have in one. But in schools, we don't allow that. We don't allow for cross-pollination of subjects and the grouping of these subjects to create reference. Maths is found in art, and art is found in maths. Science is found in all aspects of our lives. If you had split education up into three facets, you would have numeracy and literacy, and then you would have the knowledge of the world, the things that make you different. So now to get to the point of what we see the change in the world to be, and we are just the start, but we have already got more than 100 schools globally looking at our alternative pathway as the change that education needs. The facets that we look at for changing education would be asynchronous, the ability to do and move as one wants, when one is ready, and when the need arises to move. The ability to add technology and mentorship into this process. We live in a world of the 21st century where technology is on demand. Your mentor can sit in your pocket, your mentor can sit in the cloud. When it comes to educational understanding, you need to have that process to understand how the world is working. And then obviously the most important thing is a revolutionary educational model. It's all good and well to speak about these things, but we now need to present them. So I present to you what we have classified as international access qualifications. These qualifications have no examinations. With no examinations, it means you don't have to stop and wait for someone to mark the paper. You don't have to wait for the earth to go around the sun before a child can proceed. You don't have to be constrained by the fact that someone has to mark that paper. It has to be released with millions of other papers. It saves you time. And on this planet, time is your most valuable asset. These qualifications are internationally recognized. They are benchmarked with universities across the planet, but they are built on the basis of understanding how universities work, not understanding how schools work. On the basis of being asynchronous, you can start and finish today. If you decided today you want to do your master's degree, you could register with us today, and it will take you as long as it takes you to complete. I've seen individuals obtain MBAs within 8 months, from start to finish. Because at the end of the day, education can be calculated into time. For you to complete one of our years of qualification, it will take you 800 hours. How you break those 800 hours up, that is up to you. These qualifications, by simplicity and definition, are tertiary education brought into secondary school. They are called bridging courses. Courses designed as introductory courses into a degree. The reason we offer these qualifications is specifically for students to progress and to better themselves in school with the degree. Here is an example of how a conventional school will work. In a conventional school, you will complete your schooling at the age of 20, and then you will have your degree by the age of 21 or 22. In our model, and we have a student with us today who completed his degree at the age of 19, at the top of his class and the best in his field. What is interesting about that is, and Carl will explain it to yourselves later, is how he was able to package his qualification to provide him access into university at the age of 16. Now the difference is that there are two types of fields in society. There are the sciences, and then there is everything else. If you are going to be an engineer, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, you understand that you need to do high rigorous academic qualifications. Those students would do A-levels in science, A-level in mathematics, A-level in language, and then those students would be able to gain access into those medical fields or engineering fields or sciences. For the routes that we have, we specifically have the routes built out for business, we have the routes built out for computer science and programming, sports, and education. Here is an example of a route that a student will take. Carl is a good example. Carl started his level 3 diploma at the age of 16 years old. He completed that within 8 months. Straight after completing it after 8 months, he didn't have to wait for the full calendar year for him to continue his studies. He started first year university. He completed first university in another 8 months. He then started his second year of university. He completed that second year of university in 8 months. And then he started and enrolled in his degree. He passed his degree, an economics degree, cum laude, summa cum laude, at a well-known university in South Africa. Now, the interesting thing for this qualification is that we've had one specific student with us, and this student is based in Afghanistan. It's a lady that has not been allowed to leave her house, and she wanted to study and better herself. Within 3 years, she finished school, and she obtained a degree from Bolton University, an honors degree, within 3 years. finished school, first year varsity, second year varsity, honours degree. She never left her house. She was able to do that in her own space, in a space that she was safe in, and a base for her to progress her education. Now, this does not have to be one thing and or the other thing. You can do both. In my world, in my viewpoints, can you imagine a country or a city or a state that brought this into their schools and said, for every student that comes to our school, they will leave our school with a degree. Even if it's an undergrad degree in business, it creates commonality. What is more valuable, an undergraduate degree in business or a conventional school exit? You can still study medicine. You can still go become an architect, but you change the narrative of education. You make secondary schooling no longer viable. The second route is the computing route. This is an honors engineering degree in computer science. Once again, students will complete 120 credits to exit school. First year university, second year university. And the reason it's year 4, it's an honors degree. These honors degrees that you see here are currently from the University of Bolton. The system in the UK and the Europe was built on something called UCAS. UCAS points is a trust that was established in the United Kingdom to create parity amongst universities. All of our qualifications are benchmarked through Ofqual, which is a regulatory board that governs all qualifications globally. That means that a student who's doing this route can study at any 412 universities in UK and in Europe. We have branched out into the Americas, and we are now also offering this in Australia. What I find exceptionally difficult, and why I'm absolutely humbled to be here today, is that for the first time when I arrived in Qatar, I have never met such polite, such friendly, and such warm human beings. I understand that bureaucracy is around the world, but what I find completely soul-destroying is that the bureaucracy in the countries like the European Union, Europe, Australia, America, they do not want to change education. They want to suppress the viewpoints of children in schooling until the point that there is no more change left to come for education. I honestly believe that it only takes one nation to realize that the change in education is not necessarily different subjects. It's not necessarily different teaching. What it is different viewpoints on education. If every child was able to leave school with a degree and still be able to study anything that they want, you change a generation, you change a nation, you change a narrative, you rewrite history, you create your own pathway. And I think that is something that I'm exceptionally emotional about. When it comes to education, and at the core of all teaching and learning, you have to offer the best in breed when it comes to teaching. The most important thing in your child's life in school is the educator, the mentor, the facilitator. So with Cambridge University, we built a degree pathway. We built the ability for a person who's never taught before to obtain a degree in teaching. We offered the opportunity for individuals who have taught forever, but want to be reskilled to understand how the world works. We offer them a further top-up qualification. This education route, Melissa will go through in detail, because you can have all the dreams and aspirations in the world, but if you do not have the people to execute it, they will just be dreams and aspirations. So I'm excited to hear Melissa speak about this shortly. We also then have a strategic MBA pathway. So we have students in our school, like Carl, who will complete school at the age of 19. He goes into a bridging course, what we call Junior to Giants. He spends 3 months understanding how the world works. He understands how to do a balance sheet. What is a cash flow? What are taxes? How to get an identity document? How to get his driver's license of his car? All the things that schools do not teach. Once Carl was completed in that, Carl moved on to work for one of the world's biggest fund managers. And I think what's interesting about Carl, and he will share his journey, is that he's no different to any other person. He just had the opportunity to do things differently. And generally what happens is the people that can do things differently, they end up changing the world. MBA is the same thing. For those parents in our schools across South Africa who require master's degrees, we offer it as part of our schooling, because education is about a family. Education is not one single island, it's about a community of people. We offer this all through our online system, through our mobile application, and parents themselves are able to upskill themselves to master's degrees, doctorates, postdoctorates, etc. For us, we do not see education as a commodity. We see education as a right for all. Our viewpoint is to completely shatter the constructs of the chains that education has been made. We want education to be freely available to anybody on this planet. We want to remove the ability for control by majorities who are actually the minorities on this planet and provide equality for every single human on this planet. We will not be stopped by bureaucracy, by people who want to control things. We have digitized it. We've made it stackable. We've made it variable. You can add it to any context, any language, any dialect, any perspective. But at the end of the day, this gives the opportunity for a student, for less than what they would pay to go to school, the opportunity to have a degree before they leave school. The reality is when you fight against changing the world, you'll come up against the status quo. However, when you disrupt an environment and you understand that that catalyst for change will come, you will always be persecuted for the differences of the individuals that require to remain in control to ensure their livelihoods. We have seen this in the very small part of Africa that we reside. However, we understand that at the core of what we are wanting to do is we want to address inequalities. And the ability to address inequalities and to set the world free is that we could make this freely available to every single child on the planet. If we had the ability to offer free internet to every single child on this planet and they all had a device, you would change education overnight. Because internally, intrinsic value of human beings is that they want to better themselves, but they need the opportunity to do so. I think this is a good example. So those that don't know, this came available last night, and this is ChatGPT version 4. I have spent a lot of time understanding how large language models work. I spent a lot of time understanding what artificial intelligence is versus what is machine learning and what is generative AI. And I think the reality is that the world has now outpaced us. Children in schools know more about large language models and ChatGPT than the parents and the individuals in this room. We have a state of an environment where the children are smarter than the people around them, and smarter than the individuals that are teaching them in the school. And I think as soon as we are able to address the elephant in the room, which is the emerging technology that our children are being taught with, I think it's an understanding that there's going to come a cataclysmic event on the basis of children standing up and asking the questions, why? Why am I taught something that I can find the answer in 5 seconds? Why am I not taught to harness this tool? This is the tool that they're going to use every single day. Everybody in this room will use ChatGPT. You'll use a version of it, but you're on Microsoft, if you're on Copilot, even if you're on your cell phone. This has now become embedded into the software. That is why we chose qualifications, that it doesn't matter what happens in technology. Children have the ability to progress and using the tools best suited for them. But because we do not assess children with examinations, we use something called criterion referencing. We ensure that a student is able to understand the topic that they are presenting. And it doesn't matter the tools that they use, because we have tools ourselves. Tools that will find out if it's been plagiarized. Tools that can understand the dialects of what the student is trying to address. Tools that will even address ChatGPT 4. But the viewpoint is that it is already a race. It's a race for knowledge versus drowning in information. Textbooks are extinct. For schools that are still using textbooks, the digital revolution is here. Books are now written in minutes. Information is freely available. In schools, we should teach children how to harness this information so that they understand how this technology works to better themselves, not to enslave themselves. There is a lot of information that I've shared with you today, so I'm now going to hand over to Nikki Malcolmes, who is the head of KNO 360.
Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking you for hosting us today and also for hosting us in your beautiful country. So far, it's been a very enjoyable experience and we look forward to getting to know you after the conference. I also wanted to thank Jevron. I've heard Jevron speak on numerous occasions and every time I leave more awe-inspired, more privileged to be able to be in the profession of education and more open to learning new ways and new models. So I appreciate you listening to my story today. I thought before we look into KNO 360 Smart Schooling, which is really where this product will be housed, I could tell you why it is me that is standing here telling you the story of KNO Smart Schooling. Like many of you in the room, my journey in education began in the classroom. And as a very passionate teacher, wanting to serve my students, I also had massive questions that I couldn't answer. Why was I seen as the all-knowing orator of knowledge? Why were my children viewed as empty vessels, where somebody like myself was just pouring content in? Why was I so nervous every time exam season came round, when it wasn't me sitting the exam? And year upon year, why did I have outstanding minds in front of me that simply could not perform as they entered that final race? These questions took me away from education for a short time into the world of marketing and business management. I furthered my studies to see if I could find the answers there. But alas, my vocation drew me back and I found myself back in education, wondering where could I make the change? So it was through that question that I moved into educational leadership, completing my master's through Bath University, and I have since had the privilege of being in leadership roles around the globe. But it was Mr. Jevon Epstein who prevented me from jumping off the proverbial cliff and leaving education altogether when he opened my mind to another way, to our international access qualifications. And I've been running those access qualifications in a school in South Africa for 4 successful years. Jevon touched on the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence, and the fact that our students are light years ahead of us. In fact, before this presentation, it was my students who I sought counsel from to upskill and make sure that I was ahead of the curve and knew exactly what was happening in the world of AI. The world is changing before us. By the time we leave this room, there will be another iteration and evolution of what is accessible to students at their fingertips. And us as educators, we don't want to become extinct. It is our mission to ensure that we are ahead of the curve, that we are still relevant, and through our relevance and acquisition of knowledge, we will certainly inspire the youth that we have responsibility of moving into leadership. Because ultimately, the older we get, the more we will rely on the youth to lead us into our retirement comfortably, and the more information they have, the better it is for all of us. KNO 360 Smart Schooling. I'd like to briefly take you through our product. KNO 360 Smart Schooling is an online school that provides international qualifications through asynchronistic learning. The reason why we focused on asynchronistic learning ties into what Jevon was saying, that knowledge is readily available. If the content is pre-populated on the system and students have the chance to accelerate their learning or decelerate their learning, then we as the educators become facilitators of learning. Our role changes. We move from being the all-knowing sage on the stage to the guide on the side, walking them through their journey and making sure that they are able to understand what it is they need. Our smart schooling will offer 3 different pathways. The Cambridge qualifications, which many of you will be familiar with. We will offer the international access qualifications that Jevon's taken us through. And something that I've done for many years at my school is the hybrid approach or a blended approach, where a child can attain all their Cambridge qualifications and simultaneously also achieve their international access qualifications. So the reason that we've specifically chosen to work with Cambridge is Cambridge is in a very rigorous curriculum. But my favorite thing about working with Cambridge is how often and readily they reiterate their curriculum. For example, the computer science curriculum evolves every 6 months because Cambridge is well aware that education can become extinct. So they themselves are constantly upgrading their programs. And that's why they are an absolute brilliant education partner. Cambridge is stable. It is the international benchmark of excellence. It links students and educators to a worldwide community. Their knowledge is concept-based. They're not simply testing rote memorization and regurgitation onto exam page. They're actually testing whether a child understands that concept and it can apply it in a different context, very similar to our IAQs. The resources that Cambridge provides are off the charts, and Melissa's going to show you how they help to upskill teachers. they also recognize that while students must learn and grow, so must educators. We will offer International General Certificate of Education qualifications, the Advanced Subsidiary Level qualifications, and the A levels for those students that choose to advance further. Students will be able to write their exams in either the May or June series or the October-November series. And as Jevron indicated, for students where an exam venue or accessing an exam venue is not possible based on the travesty of their circumstances, we will have pop-up exam venues that Cambridge will register on our behalf. Now to the IAQs. As Jevron explained, our IAQs mean that you can attain top-tier education no matter where you are in the world. And the way that we've managed it very well is to look at it almost like a portfolio-based qualification, where a student can demonstrate their learning without the need to be examined on it. And the way that we do that is through applying that knowledge to a different context or a different situation. This provides for a flexible learning environment. Our platform supports self-paced studying, accommodating the varying needs and schedules of all students. Ultimately, in a nutshell, our IAQs are a school exit without the high-stakes examinations. They prepare children for the workplace. They allow them international access to be globally relevant. And the time of completion is linked directly to the motivation of the students. And I put my last point in there just to share with you, I have many students in South Africa who are earning an income whilst completing their degrees or whilst completing their schooling. In fact, I have one very ambitious young lady who's managed alongside her studies, and she's been an absolute, she's a fascination to watch, incredibly ambitious. ANO Smart Schooling will also have access to what we call subject matter experts. So it is important for our teenagers to still know how to communicate. When I made this presentation, I actually wrote that our soft skills cannot be replaced. But this morning, when I looked at the updates of ChatGPT, I realized that they are already trying to make their software human-like, and perhaps we will all become extinct. But just to feel safe, we're going to ensure that there are subject matter experts so that each child has a human that they can connect with and ask questions to. So if a student is stuck on the concept of photosynthesis, for argument's sake, they can go online, book a teacher, ensure that that teacher is available at a time suitable to them, and have a one-on-one session where they can ask relevant questions and receive the information they need. This is like the Uber of education. A product that I'm very proud of and one that I'm very familiar with because I've used it for the last 4 years is the in-school offering, where if you are still a school that is bricks and mortar and you would like to carry on with your school community in that way, this product provides an invaluable resource. You no longer need to be concerned about teachers planning. You no longer need to be concerned about syllabus updates. Everything is available to you on this platform. Your teacher can now really facilitate rather than spend all of their time bogged down by admin. The in-school offering also means that for your ambitious student that needs to attend lessons, they will have access to this platform, and in their own time they can continue to study alongside it. But also the idea of a child missing school and having to catch up no longer exists because they're working completely at their own pace through the content. What are the benefits of our smart schooling model? It's flexible, allowing anybody access to the course materials at any time. It's accessible. For students who may not have access to physical classrooms, this program is available to them. And if you are a school owner, you can analyze the data, ensuring that you can see how the children are progressing, looking at the gaps, understanding assessment, diagnostic assessment, but also as a school owner to see what is hitting, what are the children running with, and where do we need to improve. As Jevron said, we've all got a phone in our pocket. This mobile learning ensures that you are able to use that at any time. But one of the exciting things about our course that I feel very thrilled about are these micro-learning short courses. We know that a child is more than just an empty vessel wanting to fill themselves with academic content. Our micro courses look at psychometric testing, career guidance, personality strengths and weaknesses, Research has shown that your personality is not fixed. In fact, in teenage years, it evolves every 6 months. We have leadership courses at the beginning of your high school journey and at the end. We also look at how to improve and upskill AI. So we will actually teach children how to use AI to benefit their learning rather than to simply just answer the questions. I wanted to just take you through a snapshot of what the platform looks like. I've chosen courses there where a child might be doing Cambridge alongside an IAQ. So you'll see they've got access there to the Cambridge curriculum and the business management curriculum. If a student is working through, this is IGCSE physics, as they work through the content, they can keep notes and lessons live as they go. It also indicates to the child how far they have gone through the course and what they need to complete. And every time they log in, it opens where they last left off. But it also allows the child to go back and revisit concepts that perhaps they didn't quite understand at the time. This is where you keep your task board. So any assessments that are due or assignments, this is a neat way of seeing what you need to complete. And if you click on view, it will bring up that assignment for you. This feature that I really enjoy looks at what a child needs to do well in their assessment. So the rubric or the criterion references, as Jerron spoke about earlier, will be there for the student to see. And then if you look down, you'll see the circles. As they complete the course, so the circles become green. And once they complete it, the teacher can see that they've completed and the student can see how far they are. And then community. If you want to interact with other children from around the world, you will be able to do so through the forum, or you will also be able to interact with your subject matter experts. So ultimately, this is a customized curriculum that's able to monitor progress. There's regular feedback and tracking for the child to know where they're at. Collaborative learning is a priority, and peer-to-peer feedback becomes open to any child anywhere in the world. And to finish, personalized learning is a continuum between non-learner provided choices, those of us in the room that are able to provide the choices, and learner-directed agency. Because if we had a youth leaving school with not only the knowledge that they need, but also intrinsic motivation and a belief in themselves, then we can really conquer the world. Thank you.
Thank you Nicola for your presentation. ممكن ناخذ 20 دقيقة البريك ونعاود. I will take 20 minutes for break.
السلسلة عالية.
حتى يقولني ترى مرات زين عشان يعلم تتعرف على الفنان مستعجل فيها وايد شغل. هل تريد التشرف مع الوزارة
So who's going to be more fun? The most boring. You got
لو احنا هذا الناس تجي بعقليه يقول لك حاجه
أول شيء كان مرة أنا واحد جيت وكيل كلية بعد كده
ولا زال شابا.
ست سنين كلية والله 6 سنين
ليش كنت
هو أنا بعد السنة قاعد أتبعك
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. حياكم الله. سعادتكم يا جماعة. هذا كان في البيضاء. وما تركنا البيضاء. ولا لا يعرفوا على فكرة. لأن تعيش هدف غير من المناطق هذا كان ولا زال. عندنا منحة إلى 2
السنة الأخيرة دي ولا عندي عدة أبحاث احنا والله عندنا هم انا الى الان عندي انا اروح لهم اشتغل على ابحاث ما قاعد بس ترى الانسان ترى كل واحد
انا حابب سنتين من البطيء
كانوا يعطون التقاعد عشان التقاعد حلو وانا اقول بدايه الوقت نصيحه انت كل وقت كان للناس يعني 50 سنه الحين وقت في نفسك والله الواحد انا تاني البوز رحت البوز مؤتمر ما اطور من نفسي انا احب الاشياء انا اصلا
في مؤتمر دكتور في صلاله من 8 ل 12
هي التربيه اليوم
لا في صلاله احنا بنسوي مؤتمر يعني مؤتمر في
أجل
مدربين
بس متابع الكلية.
لا مؤتمر كلية لا مؤتمر
شركات خاصة يعني.
الدكتور أحمد البدري هو اللي منسق
لأنه معلم الأعمال نفس الواحد.
الدكتور أحمد البدري ما شاء الله عليه هو اللي منسق وبعدين مسويين في خليج صلالة يعني تدريب وورش
هاي دكتور طاهر من السودان. لا عادي دكتور طاهر أيضا في التكنولوجي
في مجال احنا مجال التعليم الالكتروني المحتوى الشرعي.
ما شاء الله من 10 سنوات. أنا تعرفت عليك
لا شغالين في التعليم الالكتروني الشرعي تحديدا يعني. عندنا اكاديميه اسمها بديلا. انا من السودان مش حابب لكن كنت عندي اصلا شركه تعليم ولها 7 سنوات. الان انشانا
عندما يحتاج حسبة العمل
الله كان حضر في
العزيز الأونر مال الشركة. أيوه صديقي أنا خصوصا الأولى معي لعبنا في النادي سنين مع بعض.
كلهم عيالنا على هاي من تحت رحم الطلاب يقولوا دكتور لطيف
كنت دارسين مقرر حلو فيها دكتور. كان كل الجامعة أنا ما قلت أنا درست ريسيرش ميثودز حق كل طلبة الجامعة.
الحين درس جيولوجيا خدمة الإنسان في كل الجامعة. بس الآن شغلت هنا قصة
أيوه الله يعينك الله يسلمك. تفضل أشوفكم.
كيف حالك؟ الله يسلمك ويعافيك. الله يسلمك. دكتور خميس الرحمن. اي نعم. ايش صار في رابطه المدارس؟
والله ما عندي علم الصار عليه لان الخميس واصل هذا الموضوع فما اعرف ما وصلوا له.
لانها فكره جيده يعني كل المدارس الاهليه لسان واحد يتكلم التخصص
في وشو
التخصص
الشخصي انا درست اقتصاد في بكالوريوس واخذت ماجستير في العلاقات الدوليه والسياسيه.
الاسم
عبد العزيز محمد صقر.
احنا شركتنا هنا في خدمات والسيارات التعليمية. الآن جالسين نخطط لمركز مميز لموضوع تعليم اللغة العربية وتعليم مهارات اللغة العربية هنا في قطر.
عندكم مثل المعهد؟
لا احنا الآن بادين فيه خطوات ماشيين خطوات الآن مرحلة سنة التأسيس مع المستشارين في اللغة العربية تحديدا. والهدف انه غالبا التعليم يركز على تعليم معارف اللغة العربية وليس مهارات اللغة العربية. هو فكرته انه يركز على المهارات ويكون في منصة فيها أبرز التجارب الموجودة في اللغة العربية ومهارات اللغة العربية بحيث تتناقل التجارب ويكون في تقريبا رابطة مشاريع تعليم مهارات سواء في الداخل يكون انتظاراتنا دكتور اسمه عبد الرؤوف تجزي. هذا من مشروع اسمه التنال العربي اللي هي شهادة مشابهة لشهادة آيلتس اللغة العربية. يشكل 50 سنة هو شغال فقط في هذا الموضوع.
لا احنا ايش بنسوي؟ بنسوي لك نتكلم عن اليوم الخميس
اجتماع تقعد مع الاستاذ حميد على اساس نتكلم في هذا الموضوع.
جميل وممكن اذا فرصه اذا تيسر فرصه معك او مع الدكتور خميس ولا الدكتور خميس جلسه مع الدكتور عبد الرب يكون عندنا اكثر من مره ونكون في اجتماع
وين هذا مثل ايوه
يوم الخميس
انا ان شاء الله اقدر، بس انا احتمال بعد يومين اسافر مع الوالده عندها علاج. ما ادري اذا بكون موجود ولا لا.
طيب خلاص
احنا لين ما حددنا السفر، بس هاليومين بنحدد.
لا خلاص هو
فاذا هذه
لانه هو صعب عليه بمره.
ايوه
حتى هو 73 سنه.
احنا شو نسوي؟ انا بقعدك مع خميس.
تمام جميل.
وحتى لو تريدون انتم اجتماع مع خميس تتكلمون وياه وهو يقابله خميس.
خلاص ممتاز. اذا الدكتور خميس موجود خلاص ما شاء الله الدكتور خميس واضح انه صاحب مبادرات على المستوى.
Ito yung luma.
Ha? Yung luma? Ay, silver yun.
Or yan yung ano, galing sa...
Ay, oo. Binigay mo ba sa kanya?
Binigay yata.
Hindi mo maalala.
Those are what saying you play.
Sure.
Yeah, he said.
Then I will tell you were the one who said what you said. Charge it now. I mean, there's an extension there. No, for now, until it's still break, right? So charge it now.
Still live.
No, you post it. You post it. No?
You can't pause it. Not, I didn't use Facebook Live. You can do that.
There's no point here.
There's no point.
Same problem I have there. The laptop there, there's no more power. That's why I run a extension cord.
Well, I think it's meant to be.
Wait, let me see if I can get one. I'll get an extension.
I'll
get an extension with bullet clear.
Okay.
Anything here? Josh? You don't have extension. This one's from the technician. I'll ask if they have still.
Nice. مهندس كيف حالك؟
كنت اظن نفسي بطلع اشتغل.
ايش؟
بحضر الموقع. المشكلة سوقت لي انه الموضوع عادي يعني قلت انه استمع داخل الغرفة.
والله ما اروح اقول.
والله بس احكي باسمي.
لازم تكون مش ذاك النقص. عباك.
يعني لازم تعرف معلومات بس ما تفهم بسرعه.
This is, you can use this. No, it's the, what? You have that from here, and then go in there. I hope it's long enough, but we don't have anything. Where's the extension for the vacuum? Where's the vacuum? Because we need extension.
There I got. So I think from there to
the charger.
Power call office.
The charger will
Yes, it will complete. The elevator. Sure.
Yep.
And some PowerPoint she said, or video she wanted to play.
That one has gone since now. It was supposed to be in the beginning of the.
That's over now?
Yeah.
Done?
Just tell them, be careful when they come.
Yes.
You can talk to them. Even the one with the injured, she's a teacher and she already has designed her own program with the AI and she wants to make the kids to move. I wanted to show you. Question. You want to rest or you want to really?
You want to open some question? She wanted to show Jason's video. It was supposed to be in the beginning. I have enough pen-drive. Then the pen-drive. I just see what I was supposed to be. You already tried so many times.
I think it's fine.
Because Sir Chemist already came in the morning. I tested it.
Yeah.
And then when I played it, I said, no, it's not like one. So they send me again what's up. But it's the same video.
Yeah. You saw it 3 times. Yeah.
No, I think the same video. There is minor correction.
Yes.
Our e-learning organization
inside in school and see the presentations and people, like lines. Yeah. That's why we just say that. Bori. Yeah, they will give that. 2 minutes.
Now break.
Break. Just I will Nicola from your partners. He's our partner.
Yes, he stayed last time. We arrived very late, 2 o'clock in the morning.
What did you find? Money or what?
I wish. I was here 15 years ago. Different. Very different. So I was in Dubai last time. Dubai is very friendly. We leave tomorrow evening and we leave tomorrow.
global institute.
Yes.
Study global institute. Very nice.
Yeah.
That's why.
We're not too sure what our plans are tomorrow. So maybe
Just
find out.
Try to give us time. Just what time do you finish today?
I think today is 1 o'clock. I think we finished this.
We just do what we do and then
Maybe Dr. Khamis can take us there or send us there. Because I think we're his guests. Dr. Khamis, yeah, we're his guests. So maybe we ask him here, we ask him.
Because we have similar things.
Oh, really? I'd love to see
But we have all the facilities.
Yes, I'd love to see.
If you go global institutions,
what type of study
and also my business with the ITC. So we can almost
Gathering of like minds.
Business. Last month we had
Next time we come
you know,
present.
business is always good.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll come present.
The members of us will come 3 members. You know what you will get?
Yes.
That's it, it's making contacts, network.
That's not easy.
No. Contacts are like gold.
Now, you know, I have
This is media.
Yes, South Africa is a different. When I was living in Hong Kong, when I was living in Asia, Hong Kong, we did business in people do things differently.
But you know how to make
No, we were actually Catholic and small. Also, with some foods and opportunities. So it's the second time. It's amazing. It's pretty amazing. Beautiful country. Yes. Went to the education system. We went to
We went to both of you.
we went to one of the schools that had
Maybe it's
we went to the library.
released.
Yeah, we were awestruck. Like, we can't believe there's so much knowledge in this little
One day.
what was also incredible, we went to the National Museum, which I remember was fascinating. And I was like walking around, just staring at everything, reading every little card. What is it called? If I Google, it's just.
It's for the face of the museum.
And it's close to you.
Maybe there are more than 120 years.
Wow. That must be serious. You never
لا لا متخصص يمر ولا
خليك تحت واحد.
Oh, he was right.
حكومي ولا؟
You can pause this. It's nice to meet you. Have a nice day. Thank you. We can put an ad.
السلام عليكم.
I will join myself.
Thank you so much. I had almost a near yeah, thank you so much. Not only, but I had ministers, I had GCS testing, I had facility I jumped on the so we got together.
in a very bad way. You have exactly, you have categories and like assessing teaching standards based on
أرحب بكم مجددا في الجلسة التعريفية لبرنامج المسار البديل الارتباط مع our partners units. الجلسة الثالثة الآن ستكون كايل سابيلا. He will show his case, his experience. After that بيكون الجلسة اللي قبل الأخيرة ل BDQS. And after that we will receive your questions. صراحة إحنا كأكاديمية طبعا بحاجة إلى ماسة إلى يعني الأسئلة والمداخلات، لأنه نحن في هذا المطاف الآن قاعدين نطور البرنامج، وتطوير البرنامج إن لم يكون من صناع الطرح أغلبهم طبعا بيرنتس وأصحاب مدارس ومهتمين في المجال التعليمي، فالمداخلات والملاحظات والأسئلة حول الموضوع هذا سيفري من إعادة النظر في تايلرنج للبروجرام. وسنبدأ بالبرزنتيشن ثم الجلسة الأخيرة ستكون حول الأسئلة. تفضل.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Carl Sabo, and I'm here today as a testimony of the IAQ and alternative pathways in education. I'm here to share how it has reshaped my journey and how it gave me such an advancement in terms of my educational pathway. Please join me as I share with you the transformative power of alternative pathways in education. Before I continue, I would like to make reference to something that I've learned during my time with the International Access Qualification, namely in effective business communication. So it's been scientifically proven that individuals tend to only engage with their audience for about 20 to 25 minutes at a time. And a main focus of this module was the implementation of the 10-20-30 rule. The 10 makes reference to no more than 10 slides in your slide deck. The 20 is talking for no longer than 20 minutes, and the 30 is no font smaller than 30. In a world where conformity often reigns supreme, alternative education stands as a beacon of innovation and adaptability. Traditional education, while venerable in its own right, can sometimes stifle creativity and limit opportunities for personalized growth. Conversely, alternative education pathways offer a dynamic and tailored approach, empowering individuals to chart their own course towards success. Traditional approach refers to conventional classroom-based learning, where students attend schools or universities to receive instruction from teachers. There is a standard curriculum, standardized testing, and all to sit in an exam room where students are stressed out because they have to show what they've learned. Where alternative pathways come in is where it takes the knowledge that you have learned and you are tested on how to apply that in the real world. A bit of background on myself. From the age of 3 years old to 13 years old, I attended a Montessori school, which laid a solid foundation in terms of my educational upbringing. Thereafter, I briefly went into a public government school where the traditional curriculum was implemented. Thereafter, I joined Generation Schools, where I took part in the Cambridge curriculum, did my IGCSEs, and then progressed to AS levels. But unfortunately, I was not able to fulfill myself. I was looking for something more, and that's where the IAQ came in. The IAQ provided me with that catalyst in terms of my educational career. It took me a period between 6 and 9 months, including the assessments, to complete this, where after I went straight into my Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in economics and cum laude top of my class. In my final year of my studies, I also had the opportunity to take part in an internship program, which is called the Junior to Giant program. This program takes students that are nearing completion of their studies and prepares them for the real world, teaching them the soft skills that one does not learn in a traditional school environment. Exiting this program and completing my degree, I went into market risk analysis for one of the world's greatest alternative asset management companies, Apex Group Limited. I'm currently in a management company for alternative asset investments as a market risk analyst. Amidst the sea of conventional options, the international access qualification emerged as a transformative force in my educational journey. The specialized program focused on business management not only provided me with a comprehensive understanding of key concepts such as effective business communication and maximizing resources to achieve business success, but also equipped me with practical skills for navigating complexities of the modern business landscape. The main focus of the IAQ is taking the knowledge that you've learned and applying it in real business life scenarios. The hallmark of alternative education is the ability to catalyze growth and propel individuals towards their goals at an accelerated pace. Through IAQ, I find myself on a fast-track trajectory, completing my studies in a fraction of the time. Due to the nature of the course, I was able to work through the learning content and complete the assessments within a period of 8 months, after which I continued to start my first year of my BCom, completing that at the age of 19. One of the most compelling aspects of alternative education is its capacity to set individuals apart from their peers in a competitive landscape. While others followed the traditional route, I honed my skills and expertise through IAQ, emerging as a standout candidate poised for success. The specialized knowledge and practical experience gained through this program not only distinguished me from my peers, but also positioned me as a leader in my field. Before pursuing my career in market risk analysis, as I mentioned, I took part in the Junior to Giant program, in which I later on became a mentor for the up-and-coming students who entered the program. Of course, no journey is without challenges, yet it is in overcoming these obstacles that we truly discover our resilience and determination. Throughout my IAQ experience, I encountered numerous challenges, from balancing the coursework with other commitments to navigating unfamiliar terrain. However, through perseverance and unwavering support of mentors and peers, I emerge stronger and more resilient than before. This is a testament to my current occupation. I would like to end off by reflecting on my journey. I've come to appreciate the invaluable lessons that alternative education has imparted, from adaptability to resilience. Each challenge served as a catalyst for growth, propelling me towards new heights of success. As I stand before you here today, I'm attesting to the transformative power of alternative pathways in education, and I encourage you all to embrace the possibilities that lie beyond the confines of tradition. In closing, I'd like to say shukran to all of you that are in attendance, and I invite you to consider the profound impact that alternative education pathways can have on your own journey, whether through IAQs or other innovative programs. The possibilities are limitless. As we continue to navigate an ever-changing landscape, let's embrace the spirit of innovation and exploration, paving the way for a brighter and more learning future.
Good morning, all. My name is Melissa Alberts, and I'm the head of Cambridge Associates and Professional Development Qualifications at GenX. And I would like to start off this session by asking you to imagine that if you could give your students in your schools a superpower, what would it be? You may be thinking of resilience, or creativity, or critical thinking, or maybe one of the many skills that students need today to thrive tomorrow. We as educators have the extraordinary responsibility to foster those superpowers. I'm a qualified educator. I completed a 4-year Bachelor's of Education at Stellenbosch University in Cape Town. And thereafter, I completed an honours degree specialising in curriculum development, math and science. However, when I started my career teaching at a Cambridge International School in Cape Town, I quickly realized that I was out of my depth, looking in front of a classroom filled with faces, experiencing challenges that I did not grow up with, and I was definitely not taught to manage. I had extensive subject knowledge, and I had a theoretical idea of what was supposed to happen in a classroom, but when looking at those students, I realized that maybe teaching was not for me. However, I decided to continue. Since moving into teacher training, I found that this is a common experience amongst teachers, with some studies showing that around 8% of teachers decide to leave the profession every year. With new teachers being at a particularly high risk, with 40 to 50% of new teachers deciding to leave within the first 5 years. One of the main reasons for this is due to a lack of support and adequate and relevant training to teach the students of today. Further to that, across the globe, a significant number of teachers lack the qualifications deemed essential for their positions. This crisis is even more severe in developing countries, which are affecting our most vulnerable youth. This is simply not a problem of numbers, but it's a crisis of quality that's affecting the futures of our children worldwide. Keeping this in mind, and also considering what we heard about the need for education to change, and educators having to prepare students for an ever-evolving landscape and an uncertain future, it's clear that we need to provide our educators, both perspective and experience, with opportunities to grow and develop with education. So the key to unlocking student potential lies in our own ongoing development as teachers and a new type of teacher training. In a dynamic landscape of education, where the demands on both teachers and students are ever evolving, the role of professional development has gained significant prominence. More than ever before, students need effective teaching if they are to develop the 21st century skills they need to be career and world ready. At the same time, student achievements have been raised and the student population in our schools are becoming increasingly more diverse. This means that the need for effective professional development is critical. And the impact of teacher development is not simply anecdotal. It is substantiated by empirical evidence and robust research. Educational researchers have consistently found a positive correlation between well-designed teacher training programs and improved student outcomes. John Hattie, for example, a world-renowned education researcher, conducted a study that investigated the factors impacting the variation in student achievement. He found that around 30% comes down to the impact of the teacher. That is a significant percentage that hinges on the effectiveness of our education and our teachers. But not every professional development experience you'll encounter will have the same effect on students' teaching and learning. Some professional development might feel generic or disconnected from the day-to-day challenges that our educators face. Others may be packed with theory but lack the practical evidence needed to make immediate change. This is why it's so important that we seek out programs that are research-based, thoughtfully conceived and delivered, relevant and practical, and focused on the right things. But let's be honest, the idea of professional development often conjures up images of endless slideshows, workshops, lectures, and it has little connection with the realities of the classroom. While the intention behind the traditional professional development is well-meaning, the execution often misses the mark. Firstly, educators are extremely busy with lessons and grading and marking and meetings and everything in between. If you have to ask and if you have to figure out a time that works for everyone, it is quite impossible. And especially if it cuts into your essential prep time and your personal hours, teachers become understandably resentful. Secondly, too often, professional development is heavy on theory and light on practice. Teachers aren't looking for the latest educational buzzwords or abstract theories. They crave practical, actionable tools that they can implement in their classroom tomorrow. When professional development stays in the realm of educational philosophy without offering those actionable steps and strategies, it leaves teachers feeling frustrated and ill-equipped to handle the challenges that they're facing in the classroom. A high school math teacher and a kindergarten teacher face vastly different realities. The same goes for an experienced teachers versus one that's new to the profession. So a blanket professional development qualification that attempts to address all needs effectively will end up addressing no one's needs effectively. This dilutes the impact and leaves teachers feeling that their unique challenges are not understood or supported. And education is a dynamic field, it's constantly evolving. So if teacher training is not keeping up or keeping pace, it quickly becomes irrelevant. When content feels like it's a rehash of old ideas or focused on methods that's not aligned with our modern classrooms, teachers often then tune out. Worse, when professional development is perceived as a tick-the-box exercise simply just for compliance, rather than a genuine path for growth, it breeds cynicism and demotivates even the most passionate educators. Teachers learn best from one another. We often think that learning happens within the four walls of the classroom, with the teacher standing in front of the classroom and imparting their knowledge, but we know we learn best when we break down those walls and we learn from one another. Traditional lecture-style PD misses the immense power of collaboration, peer learning, and mentorship opportunities. And lastly, when teachers do not see clear pathways for career progression tied to their teacher training, it stifles ambition. And without that sense of growth, they will also be tuning out. And we've discussed all the challenges that now we face with traditional professional development. However, we should not feel discouraged It's just simply time to rethink the way that teachers access teacher training and professional development to make sure it's relevant, accessible, and truly transformative. So Genix, as a Cambridge associate, pioneered the online delivery of Cambridge PDQs for both individual educators as well as teacher training centres. Teachers anywhere in the world can now access top quality and professional development qualifications, all internationally recognized, and also affordable, no matter their location, no matter the time that they have to spend time on professional development. Engaging online platforms that's fit for purpose also enhances the learning experience, making it flexible, moving beyond the static workshops of the past. And online does not necessarily mean isolation. The dedicated mentors are there to support and guide educators that complete the professional development every step of the way, offering encouragement, keeping them accountable, offering support and guidance, and even just being a soundboard to share their experiences and their advice. Our programs are also just not based on theory. They focus on the latest research-backed teaching strategies with a strong emphasis on classroom application. Teachers learn skills and approaches that they can use immediately, making a real difference to their students' learning. And for those who want to go further, our teacher training offers a direct path to undergraduate and postgraduate degrees through Anglia Ruskin University. This creates a genuine career ladder, empowering teachers to advance and expand their impact. And this innovative solution addresses the core problems and pitfalls of traditional professional development. It's relevant, it's accessible, and it's designed to drive real impact. Cambridge's vision aligns with ours regarding the teacher training and qualifications and the need for a new type of it. Cambridge PDQs cover 5 integral themes at certificate and diploma levels: teaching and learning, educational leadership, teaching bilingual learners, teaching with digital technologies, as well as classroom practice. And it's important to note that classroom practice, we are one of 6 centres around the world with the ability and accreditation to offer it. Each syllabus focuses on professional development needs that matter the most to students, schools, and leaders. It can also be tailored to suit the priorities, the needs, and the local context. So to tell you a bit about each of the themes and the qualifications that Cambridge and Genix offers, the teaching and learning qualification helps teachers to refine their skills and learn proven strategies to maximize student learning. Think of it as sharpening the tools in a teacher's toolkit. It covers key aspects such as active learning, collaborative learning, assessment for learning, differentiation, metacognition, and Bloom's taxonomy, just to name a few. Teachers delve into the why behind educational practices and actually tries to get a critical perspective of why it happens and how they should implement it to suit their students. This qualification helps teachers analyze their own practice to adapt and become more reflective and effective over time. Teachers will also then experiment, innovate, and try new things in a classroom safely because they have the support of their mentor to guide them. The educational leadership qualification, which is also certificate and diploma level, aren't just for leaders who want to gain knowledge. They're about developing the skills and the mindset that leaders have critical for success in a complex school environment. Teachers learn how to create a culture that's focused on high quality teaching and student learning. They develop the tools to identify areas of growth within their schools and implement strategies for positive change. They also investigate and explore practical leadership skills in areas like communication, time management, team building, change management. Then the teaching bilingual students qualification. It provides a deep dive into the complex and rewarding area of multilingual education. It empowers educators to explore the core theories, challenges, and best practices in bilingual education, and will teach educators how to effectively teach subjects not just the subject content, however also the simultaneously developing students' proficiency in additional language. It focuses on helping bilingual learners reach their full potential and develops then strategies to create inclusive classrooms where language acquisition and academic achievement go hand in hand. Teaching with digital technologies is a qualification that explores the why we use technology in education and helps teachers understand the power to enhance learning alongside the potential pitfalls. It helps teachers to discover how to effectively weave technology into lesson design and classroom experiences to maximize students' learning and their engagement. It also allows them to try new technologies and approaches in a supportive environment so that the use of the technologies is actually contributing to the learning and it's used intentionally, not just because. The Cambridge International Certificate in Classroom Practice is specifically for new teachers. So it's teachers that are new to the profession and they still need to find their feet. It helps teachers to build a strong foundation of practical skills that they'll use from day one. It explores the wide-ranging responsibilities of teachers beyond just being in the classroom, the professional expectations, how to communicate with parents, how to communicate with fellow staff, how to use the policies that there are in place. And it's also to gain insight into the common challenges that our students face, not just academic, but also social-emotional, to support students from diverse backgrounds and needs. And the Cambridge PDQ is designed to fit seamlessly into a teacher's busy schedule. So it's made up of 3 modules, each building on top of one another. And we found that the average duration of completing one of these modules is about 25 weeks. However, teachers have completed it more quickly, especially if they are dedicated and motivated to accelerate their journey. On the other hand, they can also take a bit longer to complete the qualification based on maybe their role within the classroom or their capacity. Each module strikes a balance between 4 different ways of teaching within the qualification. You have guided learning, which is basically housed on an online platform and it's content that is expertly designed. You have the individual study where the teachers can then have some time to independently go through and research and tailor the needs, what they've learned to their needs. Collaborative learning, where they form part of a professional learning community, where they can engage, share advice, share experiences, best practices. And lastly, the most important one, school-based learning, where they will actually take what they've learned and they will experiment and try in the classroom and learn from it. So educators around the world have completed the Cambridge PDQs with Jennings. It has been truly quite an honor to be part of it and seeing the positive impact that these qualifications have had, not just only on the teacher practice, but the actual students. We have reached individuals from all over. For example, Mrs. Maida from Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we also set up teacher training centers within schools, form as a hub where experienced educators act as mentors and guides their candidates within their actual schools and their surroundings, like Mr. Yaya from Burkina Faso. Because each step of the qualifications ends in a certification, it ends in a qualification, we've had educators that complete the first module, they receive the certificate and then decide to leave or continue at a later time. However, we've also had educators that see the value of this complete pathway and sticks around for quite a long time to complete the whole thing. For example, Mrs. Carol from Malaysia, she is currently waiting for her results, her final results with Cambridge International to get her diploma. She has done module 1, 2, and 3 with Jennings, as well as Mr. James from South Africa, who's currently doing module 2. And the Cambridge PDQs is not just about transforming educators' current practice. It's about opening doors to exciting new educational possibilities in your career. The Cambridge PDQs earn credits towards Anglia Ruskin University for higher education qualifications, including a PGCE, master's degrees in education, as well as MBAs for those that want to go into school leadership. Anglia Ruskin is a UK university ranked first for education in the Guardian 2021 Best UK League table. They are also globally recognized for excellence in education, online learning, and distance-based learning. It provides an accelerated and cost-effective pathway to tertiary qualifications. So on this board, it's basically the stepping stones towards accreditation. So an educator, whether they have a degree or not, will start off by doing Module 1, the certificate. Followed by that, they'll do Module 2 and 3, which forms part of the diploma. And thereafter, they'll do a bridging course, which is about 5 weeks. And then they will receive credits to either an undergraduate degree, like an honours and BA honours in education, or one of the multiple postgraduate degrees, like your PGCE and your master's degree, as it is on the board. And these programs are not just about knowledge, it's about transformation. They empower teachers to elevate their practice, to deepen their understanding, and to become the kind of teachers and educators who inspire students to exceed their potential, while unlocking a gateway to further education and career advancement. We began this session by imagining the superpowers we could give our students. Our alternative teacher training, and in partnership with Cambridge and Anglia Ruskin, offers an internationally recognized pathway to do just that. So the real question is, are we ready to empower our teachers, transform our education, and set our students up for lifelong success? And I truly believe that the Cambridge PDQs and Jennings offers that answer. Thank you. Before we go to the question and answer, I'm going to hand over to Jaap Vos.
Good morning, everyone. It's a huge privilege to be here. My name is Jaap Vos. I'm the Financial Director of the Generation Education Group. And it's a privilege to be sharing some information on data in education. Education is not just about imparting knowledge. It's about empowering individuals, building communities, and shaping the future of societies. I want to look a bit at the impact of data in education, and specifically the transformative power of data, specifically in the Middle East. In order for us to drive meaningful change, we can look at data to empower individuals and to build communities and shape the future of societies. I've intentionally said this twice because that is the key of really using data in education to improve a society. The quality of education can be impacted by analyzing data on student performance, teacher effectiveness, resource allocations, and educational outcomes. And this will provide us with insights into what works and what does not. We can identify areas for improvement, tailor interventions for specific needs, and drive continuous innovation in teaching and learning. Imagine a school a school district that notices an achievement gap between students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. They analyze data on student performance, attendance, demographic factors, and they identify the root cause of a disparity. They use this information to implement mentorship programs and provide academic support for the students to ensure that there's an opportunity for all learners to get fair and equitable education. And this will result in a level playing field and provide equal opportunity for everyone to succeed. But data in education is not only about the quality of education, it's about expanding the access to education. We need to expand the access to education for the marginalized and the underserved. There are still millions of children, specifically girls and also children in rural areas that are denied the fundamental right to education. Data can be a powerful tool for this change, and so can GenX can help this tool to change for the better. We can expand the access to education by collecting data about enrollment rates, dropout rates, barriers to access, and then develop strategies to build, like building new schools in remote areas, providing scholarship for girls, and implementing inclusive education policies. This will transform lives and break the cycle of poverty and inequality. This is something that's adamant in Africa where we live, where the lack of quality education has a massive effect in our country. And we believe quality education can really be the difference in a country to ensure that everyone lives in a harmonic way. It can transform our lives and it can break that cycle of poverty and inequality. Data can also ensure that we promote accountability. We can ensure that educational data is made publicly available, and that all stakeholders ensure that they work towards the same goal to create a culture of transparency and encourage continuous improvement of education. But harnessing the full potential of data is more about just collecting numbers. It's about the commitment for collaboration and innovation and equity. It's about investing in data infrastructure, capacity building, and cross-sectoral partnerships. We need to prioritize the voice of learners, of educators, and communities to ensure that their voices are heard in the decision-making and into the future. And we need to always remember that the end goal is to empower individuals to reach their potential and to contribute in a meaningful way to society. Now I want to look at a few specific data points in the MENA region. Let's look at enrollment rates first. 15 million out of the school, there are currently 15 million out of school children in the MENA region. It accounts for about 40% of the global adult school population. This is according to UNICEF. Then the gross enrollment ratio for primary education in the MENA improved from 83% in 2000 to 96% in 2018. However, disparities remain in secondary and in tertiary level, and this is the area that we have to focus and improve on. Literacy rates. According to the World Bank, the literacy rate is approximately 80% in the MENA region. Literacy rates are generally lower for women than for men. Gender parity. Progress has been made to close the gap, and according to UNICEF, gender parity index for primary education is 0.97 in 2018, which means in primary education it's very close to parity. At secondary and tertiary level, the disparity persists, and we have to improve this for the future. Quality of education. Data reveals disparities in resources and outcomes. Challenges remain, including overcrowded classrooms and outdated teaching methods. Refugee education. The Middle East has millions of children that are still affected by refugees. According to UNHCR, only 63% of refugee children in the MENA region were enrolled in a primary school in 2019. This is a massive challenge and something that we have to address and pay special attention into to ensure that all children have the fundamental right of education. ICT in education. Access remains uneven across the region. I think this is where GenX can help to improve the access to information and technology. Let's look at a few graphs. Primary school age children, this specifically looks at primary school age children who are out of school by world region. You can see the biggest area is sub-Saharan Africa, and it's probably the area that needs to be addressed. It's very important to address this as quickly as possible. The Middle East has improved substantially since 1986. The next graph shows the share of the world's population with formal basic education. As mentioned earlier, MENA sits at 80%, sits about 80%. The world average is close to 80% as well. This graph looks at the population having attained at least some formal education. Again, Africa is at the bottom, and it is key for us to ensure that we get all regions closer to 100%. The last graph looks at primary, secondary, and tertiary education enrollment and completion rates. You can see that primary enrollment is close to 100%. However, the tertiary enrollment is slightly over 40%. The key is here to push up the tertiary enrollment and ensure that tertiary completion rate also increases. I'm just going to repeat a few key things that we need to do to drive positive change in education. We need to have targeted interventions, invest in teacher training, and ensure that resources are allocated to improve education across all nations. We need to monitor progress. If we monitor progress, it gives us the ability to stand and look at what has happened over a period of time, assess the effectiveness of the measures that we took, and then fix it and improve it into the future. Promote equity. We need to develop policies and initiatives to ensure that education is fair and equitable, and that all students have access to education. Improving teaching practices. We need to tailor professional development for teachers to ensure that they become the best teachers that they are able to, and to ensure that they provide great education for all students. We need to ensure we allocate resources effectively, and we need to use data-driven decision-making to allocate these resources. Promote accountability, we've touched on it earlier, encourage improvement and innovation, and encourage research and innovation to ensure we follow best practices. Develop new relevant teaching methods that is relevant in the 21st century. In conclusion, data in education is not just a tool, it's a catalyst for change. It's a beacon of hope and a gateway to a better future for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We will open the floor for questions.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for this meeting. It was very informative, and we hope to get this PowerPoint soon to inform our students. My first question will be like, at the meantime, you have only the partnership with MPRS University?
No, so we have all of the qualifications, multiple.
Wait.
No, so we have partnerships with universities around the world. There are more than 400 universities that we've partnered with. When we built out our qualifications, we built in global standards. So even when the time comes and you approach a country like Qatar, there's a process that you will have to run. You'll have to fill out all the paperwork, but it is benchmarked globally. So yeah, more than 400 different universities and counting.
This is a follow-up. The ministry will recognize those online courses and degrees. Like, is that going to be valuable if someone is staying to work here in Qatar?
The short answer is no. The ministry will, all countries have their complexities. And when we've looked at building these programs out, you look at building them out either as extracurricular activities, but at the end of the day, a degree is a degree. And I think that's the difficult part. If you have a degree, it's internationally recognized. If I study in South Africa and I get my doctorate at Cambridge or Harvard, and I come to Qatar to work, I'm still recognized as a professional. I think countries and ministries and governments will take time, but what we've seen with technology is that this is already offered. So it's a process that you go through. I think the interesting thing with the teaching qualification is that because it's built with Cambridge, it's easier to recognize qualifications through university frameworks. So the Qatar, for example, Qatar education might recognize a degree from another country. It might have parity. It might not want you to do that degree online. It rather want you to study in person. But these are just processes that you have to follow.
Another question?
How accessible is this for individuals with disabilities? Does it include them or not?
That is an amazing question, and that is the reason why we built the system. So the system is fully usable with any form of technology that a student can use. It uses voice to text, text to voice, it uses speech recognition, handwriting recognition, full suite of AI service tools, and it has the ability to work with the students. A good example is that when students in school are taught earlier how to utilize these programs that they're afforded to, they're able to use it better in the workspace once they get there. So we teach students earlier how technology can assist them with their barriers to learning. So yes, fully compatible, and every single device I've seen that a student is able to utilize. So it works specifically well with students with disabilities, doesn't put any pressure on them with regards to high-stakes examination. It allows them the ability to retry and re-engineer until they pass. And the beautiful thing about these qualifications, specifically alternative access qualifications, is that you have to get 100% correct. There's no 50% pass mark. So the student is able to continuously refine their work until they pass. And they can submit their information on a day-to-day basis. So it works exceptionally well for students that are conventional neurotypical and students who have alternative neurotypical mindsets.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just the question comes, this is fully sponsored or this is on fees basis, and is there any scholarships for this to support?
So when we built the system and these alternative pathways for a fraction of the price of conventional schooling. So a good example is we were doing a calculation. Your school exiting qualification is 2,000 euros for the complete course. Your first year university is 2,000 euros. Your second year university is 2,000 euros. And then you have your final year of your degree. The reality of what can happen if you amass this is that it can become cheaper, more affordable. But if you took 1 million students and you put 1 million students through this, you'd have 1 million students with degrees. And there is no barrier to entrance. There is no exam that you have to write. Everything is done you can do it from your cell phone, from a tablet, from a computer. And you think in times to come, I'm sure there will be large corporations that will sponsor it. And then there will also be large corporations that are against this.
Another question?
My question now, especially with Mr. Kyle, did you face any struggle within your studies, within the journey?
So yes, as mentioned, I encountered some obstacles, none of which there wasn't a remedy for it. So I think because the international access qualification is new, or it was new at the time that I did it, there were still a couple inconsistencies to smoothen out. But as more students have gone through the system, we were able to identify each of those and ensure that they are not a problem for the future.
Thank you so much for this very informative forum. I was looking for this word. So my question is how powerful these programs are in empowering teachers and help them to enter the leadership level. And what's the best program to empower teachers within your programs? Because you have presented so many.
I think if we keep it very simple, what we built is we built a new way of educating students. And at the same time, you can't build that without building the ability for educators to teach. So we took the second best university in the world, as they call it, Cambridge, and we took their best practices. So we created teaching qualifications that allows you to empower your teaching so that you can teach these new qualifications. But those teaching qualifications can teach in conventional schools. You can teach any curriculum. It just is the ability to empower educators. So you built the teaching qualifications, built the new form of technology, and then the system that can create all of the content that's required for both. The best teaching qualification is just the conventional entry teaching qualification.
But if the teacher has already the qualification and you want to enter the leadership level, like you want to be an admin, well placed in a school who will work on spreading this kind of teaching way. How we can empower them? What are the programs we can offer to teachers? How we can make them succeed in their professional life as administrators, like being online, working remotely.
Okay, I'm going to pop in here. So basically, I think from our qualifications, because it has a direct pathway, so it's not just here you get a little short course certification, you actually have steps that can go towards a postgraduate degree or credits to an undergraduate degree, or depending on what your experience is. So in that instance, what we would then suggest is that a teacher starts with a certificate, that module 1 of educational leadership specifically, because that delves into aspects of how to be a good leader for a school, how to identify what you need to work on, the areas of development in the school, how to motivate your staff members, things like that, where then you have that certificate. So you can either take that certificate and it's already recognized, it's a level 4 in a UK setting and framework. However, you can continue, where you then do your diploma, which is then 2 additional modules, then you get a qualification, or you can go the final step as well, where if you have an undergraduate degree already, you can enter an MBA, so a Master's of Business Administration focusing on education, or you can do a Master's of Education in educational leadership, because that's one of the options that Anglia Ruskin offers as well. So it's a direct pathway. Alternatively, if you want to go into digital teaching, you take the digital teaching route. So there's multiple pathways, but all of them are internationally recognized. So you can go to any school, they will recognize it. It's not country specific, even though you can tailor it to your context. And that's what's great about the qualifications as well, because it's not prescriptive to you need to do this in this classroom at this level. You take what you learn and you actually then apply it to your school, to your classroom, to your students, with the guidance of a mentor as well.
Exactly. That's why I like my question. That was my question. Why? Because I believe if you work on teachers within your program, with what you are sharing with us, if we work on teachers, we'll be able to convince students and show them what they are able to do, because we cannot convince someone with something that we didn't try. So if we start with empowering teachers and convincing them to try what you have as a program, they will be able to spread it around the world,
I understand.
My personal point of view, so that's
I completely agree with you. And I think it's also good to note that, we know that education needs to change, but there's such a big component of education that's teachers. So then for education to change and to support the students in this uncertain future, this ever-evolving global landscape, big part is that we have to work with teachers to be able to handle it. We can't teach new students with old ways.
Exactly. Thank you.
Like a wisdom?
No need for the mic, just because I'm in recruiting a lot for teachers. So do you have any reference that we can go by and seek the best teachers to be recruiting, especially not only in Qatar, I'm talking Kuwait, UAE, the Gulf area, I have been recruiting a lot of, especially looking for native speakers, to be honestly, in the either American curriculum, British or IB, or even bilingual. So if you have a good reference for your graduates, this actually will make you really shooting the sea, actually.
Melissa's got over 300 teachers that she's had.
Excellent.
So she's the perfect person to connect with.
Thank you.
And these are all over the world. We've taught teachers in
Thank you very
Bosnia,
much.
Africa, everywhere. So
Yes,
Melissa's
thank you.
great.
Thank you.
We've already connected.
Yes, thank you. I need to meet you today. I need to sit with you today.
Hi everyone. So I missed one part. Is the whole education process meant to be on the screen and this student experience? How does it go again, please?
Can I just speak?
Yes, please.
You have another question?
For now, it's just this one.
So the short answer is the best way to teach this will be in person, specifically alternative pathways, because you can recreate the working world in that space. But that's in a perfect world. What we built these qualifications for was an imperfect world. So we've been able to build it that can work online, and you're able to get your full degree while still at school online. It helps you traverse things like government requirements, the ability and flexibility to go to school. So it's been built two ways. It's a blended approach. It can either be taught in schools as an alternative pathway, as an extracurricular activity, or it can be completely online. So it just depends on the circumstance of the individual, of the country, of the person, and what their needs are. But ultimately, obviously, everything is better in context with people, because people learn from people.
Just to follow up with that, is there any schools here in Qatar now that are using this that we can maybe do professional development with? It's just
not yet.
We'll
start in Oman.
Just I will come back to you.
Hi, I'm Hassan. First of all, thank you for this. I have like two main questions. One is follow up on the customer journey and the engagement between that student or teacher and your platform. And the second one, regarding the building parts, you mentioned like you build the content from frameworks through different criteria. Is in that building part, are you involved in like the ecosystem of, as you mentioned, teachers, university, government, to build that content and foundation to be delivered to the students? That's one. And is there like a flexibility or tools to be involved on that and not just following what you build, which is, we believe it's good from Cambridge and this kind of stuff? So that's the second question. And the third question, you mentioned a lot of like flexibility and adapting to the student, to the regions and this kind of stuff. Do you have that really flexibility to support, for example, Arabic language, French language, to support, for example, students, or especially you are targeting that niche from 7 to 20, which is really, really foundational educational system. What are the flexibility there to really incorporate and build any organizations or teachers or universities or communities, for example, Muslim girls or Muslim students or wherever, into this program? Or it's just the standards international programs from Cambridge, which is maybe MBA or wherever, this kind of stuff? I really want to understand these 2 or 3 main pieces.
Very good questions. So Kano 360 is specifically the brainchild of Dr. Khamis. And what Dr. Khamis wanted is he wanted a first of its kind online Islamic school. He wanted a school that would have the individual that engages with them, but he wanted to provide Arabic studies for free, stories of the prophets, etc. That he wanted that to be the quintessential part of what Kano 360 is. So he had certain terms and conditions that he wanted to meet, but he specifically has that in his mindset. So that is at the core, at the center. Every school, or every operational system, or every Anglo-Saxon establishment always has its core thread. So the core thread for Kano 360 is to be the first global online Cambridge Islamic school. And I think it's a powerful process to work towards, but that in itself comes with its own idiosyncrasies. And that ties into your first question, is who do you get to create this content? Who is the best? We can't just use open language models. So then you have to specifically go and get, and it's well said, a professional from tertiary education, professional from secondary education, and then an actual individual who will sit in that environment. So we classify those as subject matter experts. They're the ones that will define the processes. The nice thing about qualifications is they come with frameworks, set out frameworks in black and white. But we all know that education isn't black and white. It's got the feeling and emotion. That is specifically comes from the subject matter expert in that context. I'm, for argument's sake, not a subject matter expert in it, so I won't be able to comment. So that's when we bring in those professionals. But each dialect is important, and each reference point is important. So to answer your question about, attaining to the needs of society, the simple reality is that when you write a qualification like a degree, it is generally done in English. So therefore, there's a requirement that your output is in English as a purpose. But our whole system can be done in, for example, it can be built in Arabic. You can do it all in Arabic. You can even do your questions of your assignments in Arabic. And then you use a large language model to convert it to English. And you submit it. And yes, it's not a framework of that's how the society works, but unfortunately it's a loophole. And society works on those processes. So where there are rules, for example, old standard rules that the West decides that it has to be done in English, we just provide functionality in our system to convert it to Arabic, to Arabic as a language. And that is for every dialect. With the age of technology, you can convert it into any language, any language dialect that you want, any narrative, any process. The concern that I have is that the power sits in someone's agenda. What is the agenda of education? I don't want to work in the space of agendas. I want to work in the things that I can communicate, which are factual and scientific, and then I provide those individuals in those various different places the ability to create the environment that they want for their educational journey. It's an exceptionally difficult space to operate in. I'm more proficient on academics and how the system works, and then I let the specialists understand and unpack it. But as always, very difficult questions.
My question now, like in a country like Qatar, in this context, do you have any idea about how to emphasize this program? Do you build any plan with the government, with schools, with
So I think life and education, it's like playing golf. The more you practice, the better you get, or the luckier you get. I think it's like education. So I'm hoping someday, somewhere, someone hears something that resonates with them. Because a process starts somewhere. So the only way that you can evoke change is have a plan, make sure it's articulated correctly, that it can work, and you have proof that it works. We've got more than 200 students that have gone through the program. So now you've got a case study. You then need to present it to hundreds of people, and eventually you hope that somewhere along the line, someone likes this, and then they say, we want this. And I think it just takes a matter of time. I'd love for you to say that everybody in Qatar is going to have a degree when they leave school. When the reality is that that could happen. Is it probable that's going to happen? Probably not. But it's always a chance, and there's potential, and there's hope. And I work in that space. I'm grateful. I'm always optimistic. The glass is always half full. It's never half empty. So to answer your question, I don't have any way at this moment in time of making it happen, but I'm hoping that one person, someone here, someone might know somebody, and it's a conversation, and it's a process. It might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, but even if we fix it in 5 years' time, in 5 years' time, it means everyone that goes to school has a degree. Just think about that. Every student that goes to school, no matter what your capability is, you leave school with an undergrad degree. Why not? I know it's a dream and an aspiration. I might be crazy, but it's if we can physically do it, then it's a possibility. So unfortunately, no, don't know anyone there yet, but it is a process.
Mr. Fadi here from Ministry of Education. Mr. Fadi is from Ministry of Education. He can answer. I'm investing this.
He's my partner. Don't worry.
He should support in this.
He's my partner.
Sorry, I have to do this, Fadi.
It's up to me. I'll say okay right now.
Okay. One of our guests asked me a question. The first one. Does this meter, pathway, offer KPIs regarding the students' performance? How company can make sure that candidate attended this program has acquire the necessary knowledge? Is the first one. The second question, don't you think students in some countries require this degree might face some challenges regarding the recognition? Maybe the second question. What about the European countries? Does some Western Europe countries like the Netherlands or German adopted this system?
I think what I'm showing you today is no different to ChatGPT and no different to large language models. They're not legal in this country, but they're here. It's the reality is that the first revolution was farming, then it was the industrial revolution. We're now in the internet revolution, information, digital technologies. So the short answer is, in terms of the KPIs, yes, there are KPIs. Education is based on making the measurables important. What we want to do is we want to make what's important measurable. So I say to you, what is important in school? What's important in school is that you get good results. That's what's important. It's not what is important in school is that you learn. So what we've done when we built this qualification, we said, how do we make what's important measurable? And that is by building our key performance indicators that people understand information, can apply the information, can extract voluminous effort from it, and be able to reflect it and be sustainable. So those are the KPIs. The KPIs for us is that you are able to not only obtain a degree, but you can get a job with it or create your own career. That's a measurable KPI for us. And there are results. The man, you get their results. There's A's, there's B's, there's C's. Society requires it. So that's the first question. Second question, European countries, yes. Any country that's domiciled off what the UK created of conventional tertiary education, this qualification is recognized. But that being said, Cambridge was founded, I think it was 1608 or something ridiculous like that. And it's the oldest, it's no different to any other police station or any other prison. It's the same thing, it's the same context. They're not doing anything different. They just have a broader scope. And I think the reality is that if you look at Cambridge, Cambridge is not recognized in any country. However, we offer their qualifications. How is that possible? Cambridge is in South Africa, it offers its qualifications, but it is not registered in our country because it's just what we've always done. So we will just keep doing what we always do. And I think those are the difficult questions to answer. We have a product, it is measurable, it does work. Yes, you had some very valid points. What is better for you to engage with content? How do you engage with it? Should it require people? But those are the simpler things to be able to fix. Those are the things that you can create. What is difficult to create is a process that works. Once you have a process that has an outcome, then you can tweak it as you see fit. Or cultural, social, religious, communicative. You are allowed to build as you see fit, as long as the outcome is measurable, the same, and no one is left behind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of you for attending this session, and thank you so much for Phoenix, our partners, for coming and deliver these sessions. We are glad to receive your emails and your questions. We are here in Tamkin Academy receiving any opportunities of collaboration. By the way, we can take lunch now, and inshallah, our academy open the doors for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I understood my stuff in our academy, so yeah, so we can.